Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the OCP Tech Talk series in 2022. We are so excited that you are here with us this morning. We have a great lineup today of foundation events and foundation-based news. And we're excited to share some of this news with you. So over the next 2 hours or so, you'll be taking a journey with the OCP Foundation members. You'll be hearing from Rebecca. You'll be hearing from George. You'll be hearing from our IC co-chairs. You'll be hearing from our CTO, Bill Carter. You'll be hearing from Steve. And then we'll close with some event-based news. So excited that you're here. Thank you so much for being part of the OCP family and for being part of the OCP community. We've had a lot of changes since the last summit back in November. It was an in-person summit. It was our first summit post-pandemic. And it was so good to see faces and shake hands with folks. And we're very excited to do the same thing in the fall. Let's see. The format for the Tech Talk series is a little different than our Tech Week that we had last year. Some of the feedback that we received from the summit as well as the Tech Talk series was the Tech Week series was that it was too condensed and there were a lot of great information, but just not enough time to cross collaborate. So we've spread these Tech Talk series out over a period of 6 weeks, starting with today and then moving to Server. And Server is going to be over 2 days. They're half-day virtual events. Rack and Power, networking, all of our top level projects will be presenting their updates. So why are we doing it this way? Well, we're doing it this way for several reasons. They're half days, so that you'll get an activity update. You'll get multiple days for certain projects that wanted to do more of a deep technical dive into what's going on in their community and what's happening in terms of work streams and new concepts that they want to discuss with you. The Tech Talk series is completely free and it's virtual. They are recorded and they're going to be available for playback in different geographies and to accommodate different time zones. We're doing this primarily because the community reached out to us and was looking for a midpoint progress report between summits. They wanted a way to, take the stuff that they learned at summit and be able to, meet frequently enough and have a longer period of time to discuss a lot of the progress that was done. Another reason that we opted to do it this way is to allow for cross-pollination. So the Server community can absolutely go and have time to attend, say, the hardware management workshop or listen to what the security team has to say. And the storage team can then go talk to other projects. And this applies across the board on all projects. And this way, there's no conflicts. Each community can expand their reach. Each community can also, understand the impact that they're making on other communities. We don't want to be working in silos. We certainly want to be working across all of our projects. The casual format, as you can see, is going to be allowing for better exchange of ideas. It's not structured. So things are not going to start on time. They're going to move and flow as the day goes. And there might be some adjustments. So the agendas that you see on the registration for Eventbrite, they may change. And we'll try our best to stick to that agenda. But, given the casual format, they're not going to be as structured. There'll be plenty of time to have open discussions. If the project goes over or if the timing goes over, that's fine too. So we're hoping that this will give the community an opportunity to talk to each other, to network, as well as to exchange ideas. So let me give you a little bit of an update of what's happened in the the OCP community across projects. We had a new session called Cooling Environments at our summit, and that has been turned into a top-level project. So we took all of the advanced cooling solutions for immersion, cold plate, and door heat exchange and combined it with all of the cooling efforts that were going on in our advanced cooling facilities. And we put them all under one top-level project called Cooling Environments. Now they're discussing things around, around heat reuse. They're discussing things around the hurdles that it takes to introduce liquids into a data center. They're talking about hardware management for cooling projects and cooling products. So there's a lot of work going on, and we're very excited to have that leadership there. It's going to continue. Please join if you can. The Cooling Environments project is setting up their own series of calls, and you can see all of that on the project calendar on the OCP website. Hardware management also has our DCSCM revision 2, and this is the Data Center Secure Control Module. It's a modular format, and they're doing a lot of really good work with Google, with Intel, with Dell, with HPE. There's a lot of companies that are involved in that effort. So that effort has kicked off. On the networking side, you'll hear more from George, but the enterprise connectivity solutions is taking off, and there's a lot of work being done around really addressing the networking needs for the enterprise community. Server has a lot of stuff going on as well. We originally started our open domain specific architecture, the ODSA project, and that project has now come out with some great white papers and specs. You can find them on our contribution database. Just go down, they're available free of charge, available to the entire public, and you can see some of the white papers that this community has written and some of the specifications that this community has written. I know in the news there was a lot of talk about the scalable I/O virtualization. Well, they're also starting their own work stream now. They're working on the next generation of scalable I/O virtualization, and we're very excited to have that leadership. And then last but not least, the data center modular hardware system is starting their own. And if you attend the server workshops over the period of 2 days, you will hear an update on all of this work effort, and you can join in that community. So a lot of exciting work going on, and we're excited to share it with you. We want you to get involved. We want you to help us lead. So if you're interested, please do attend these server workshops. The server workshop is next week. Our thought leaders, so all of the community work that you see, all of the projects at OCP are run by volunteers. And these volunteers give an inordinate amount of time and passion to OCP. So we have 14 thought leaders in our incubation committee. Our incubation committee is growing, as you can see. We added some folks from last year, and they're representing some pretty amazing companies. So if you are thinking about being a part of the leadership at OCP, please, 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 please get involved and attend the calls. The IC meetings here, the leadership meeting, they're available to the public. They're available on our project calendar. Attend and see what the IC is doing. You'll hear more from DJ a little later. Volunteer leads. We have over 50 volunteer leaders, and this is not even half of them. These are just project and sub-project leads. We have way more that are leading our work streams and leading some of our CLA projects. The number of companies that are involved is growing year on year. I think we had something like 20 companies last year. We're up to 30 plus companies already. And these are not small companies. These are all companies that are making an impact in the community in their own way. So how do you get started? If you're new to OCP, you can join our project mailing lists. You can join our social media groups. I believe we have one on LinkedIn, one on Facebook, and one on Twitter. And you can attend all of our events, the summits, the project calls, the partner events, the engineering workshops, tech talk series, webinars, training. And you do not need to be a member to do that. You just need to just go on our website and look up the calendar and look up the project and join. Once you are in and you want to make an impact and you want to drive thought leadership, you want to run for volunteer leadership, you want to contribute, then we ask that you become a member and join in the fun. So with that, again, membership is not required to join or to attend any event. Please share this community with your friends. We're here for you. A few upcoming events. Global Summit is coming up. It's 3 days now. It is planning to be in person in San Jose, October 18th through the 20th. Sponsorships are open. Future Technology Symposium is also going to be in the same time frame, October 18th through the 20th. Call for papers is open, and we'll be opening up our call for papers for engineering workshops in early May, so stay tuned. On our events page, you will see a ton of partner events. So join our events mailing list and attend one of these events. And then, as I mentioned, if you are interested in running for project leadership and if you are eligible, please look forward to a call for nominations. We would love for our community to get more involved in our leadership. Some changes at OCP that the community should be aware of. As always, we're striving to improve, and hardware specifications are now changing. Traditional appliance hardware is now changing into de facto standards and chiplet-based hardware. So we're starting to now take a look at our specification template and make some improvements. There is an interim new template available. There was a lot of input given from our hardware management community, our firmware community, our security community, and we're taking all of those things into account as we develop new hardware specs. And then, of course, the OCP accepted and OCP inspired product recognition program is obviously impacted by some of these new criteria. Coming soon, we're going to be updating our contribution process to accommodate some of this. We're going to be updating our templates, and then we're getting ready to have a self-assessment for our modular data center. And that will be now joining our OCP Ready program. So lots of changes coming. Stay tuned. If you have any questions, please reach out. So as you attend these tech talks over the next couple of weeks, here's my ask of you. Please get involved, network, introduce yourself to each other as well as to us. Membership is not required to participate, so be vocal. Attend as many talks as you're able to. Again, they're recorded, so you don't have to be there in person, but please do attend and socialize your perspectives and your ideas across, all of these different projects. If there are any gaps, please let us know. If it's relevant, please let a volunteer leader know, and let's open it up for consideration. We're also looking for new ways to collaborate with other communities, and you'll be hearing more about that a little later. But any new markets that we're not addressing today, please reach out. And like I said, we're always looking for ways to improve our community. So we're open to suggestions and any kind of feedback, always striving to achieve, improvement, and let's get better together. So with that, here is my information. I'm available at any time. WhatsApp, WeChat, Twitter, LinkedIn. There's so many ways to get a hold of us. So please reach out and talk to us. With that, I would like to turn it over to our new CEO, George Tchaparian. George is just joined us, so he's about a month and a half old as far as OCP is concerned. He's going to share his perspective with OCP. It's always nice to get a new, fresh perspective, and we're really looking forward to his leadership. Looking forward to his leadership. So with that, George.
Yes, thank you, Archna, and hello, everyone. It's really a privilege to be here with you all. And as Archna said, I am about month and a half in this, and I'm really excited to be part of this community. I would like to first say thank you to all of you, and it's amazing how this OCP has grown, and the community has grown with it, and the OCP has about, I believe, 10 plus years now, and from its first conception, and has become a very, let's say, large scale, successful, grown organization. And it's a privilege to come in at this stage of transition to another 10 years of successful growth with you all. So thank you for the volunteers, thank you for the members, and looking forward to working with you. With that said, let me give you a couple of new examples of what we have done and how the board has been changed and updated. Here is the board of current OCP, and I am really privileged to have a very successful members and community leaders on the board. Plus, it's every CEO's desire to have a very supporting board, and it's every CEO's envy. And I do have a very, very esteemed colleagues here and supportive board, and I'm really happy and privileged to work with them. Rebecca Weekly has, taken another gig for another company, but she stayed with us, and we are very grateful for that. And she still carries the board chair title. And since she moved on she was a part of Intel, we brought in Anurag Honda from Intel. And now, as you can see, the board has grown to 6 members plus I. Next is our foundation team. Archna? This is the team that has been working with you and with the community for many years. And I call them the invisible hands. This team has done tremendous job to work with you, with the community, for the community. And it's, again, extremely delighted to have this team and the privilege to work with them. As you can see, they have their own, areas of contribution and concentration, but there's also great cross-pollination, of course, and how this team comes together to really help you, help each other, and help the community. Later on, you will hear from Bill Carter. Bill is staying, which is great, and he decided, to take some, lesser roles, but he's going to stay, and we are going to hire another CTO, and with the new CTO, he or she, with Bill and us all, we're going to carry the torch. Next, please. The foundation has grown tremendously, but the value proposition of the foundation has remained the same, but has grown tremendously strong. The value proposition is that take hyperscale innovation and open innovation, of course, and with the community, for the community, lead for translating that innovation into adoptable solutions that everybody in the community will benefit from. And the OCP has been the catalyst, the platform provider, the bridge, if you want to name it, that really has given the platform for all the community to come together to take the hyperscale innovation, work with it, translate it to other market segments. And this really helps with sharing the community, the innovation, what's really happening, drive standards if necessary, share best practices, and most importantly, also for rapid adoption of the innovation and transformation of the company. Since the conception of OCP, the community has grown, and we have core tenants. With the projects that we embark with you, with the community, has to be efficient, of course, has to show growth and scalability, has to be open. And we also understand that not everything is open, but at least has to start as open. And with the right, let's say, CLA, we can really work it as an incubation with you and then transfer it out there to the community. And of course, there are more emerging technologies coming. or more emerging, let's say other market areas that we have to expand. And the tenants are critical to really help build that foundation that's necessary, such as sustainability. Next, please. I mean, this is very evident. I don't want to go too much into it, but I really have, like I said, the privilege to be part of this community and serve you and serve the members, and also with the board and with the foundation, try to help, push innovations and growth, and especially taking those emerging technologies into project roadmaps and relevant roadmaps, relevant projects that really help you and your company to excel and grow. As an example, the reason I really wanted to join OCP, because I am and I was the beneficiary of all the value proposition, all the great work that OCP has done. With my previous company that I was leading as a CEO, that company grew tremendously, and specifically with OCP. As OCP was, forming, it was serendipity, or it was luck, or it was, our our way of, approaching at that time Facebook, and then it grew. And I again emphasize how OCP has helped my previous company, my success, the previous company's success, not only from monetary point of view, but growth, especially accessibility to greater industry leadership, and accelerating innovation and making it adaptable, and with open standards. And how many projects that myself and my ex-company members and the team were able to put first to market because of how we were able to work with a team, with OCP's bridging and foundation that OCP put together with all of you out there. That was on the networking side, albeit. And this is why I am really excited to bring that best practices and what I have done and learned with the community, with you, with the team, on all other market segments that you have already been very successful. And of course, there's a brand recognition. And if you recall, my ex-company and still today has been extremely successful with the branding as open networking. And I'm sure if we work together with your help, with the help of OCP and the board and the foundation and the community and the volunteer leadership, IC membership, the community out there, I'm sure your company will have the brand recognition going forward as well. And of course, as we all, for good citizenship, we look at circular economy and of course sustainability and all the aspects of green and so forth. We will really accommodate that, and also the diversity is very important for us. Next, please. These are some good stats, and this is the exciting part, as why I believe coming into OCP with the board and the foundation team and with you to take it to the next 10 years of successful growth. As you can see how the OCP has scaled. We are moreover than almost 300 members right now and going strong. I don't want to go through the stats, but you can see how things are evolved and will evolve going forward, and make sure that we are contributing and helping the community and the industry through you. Again, I come back and repeat, OCP is just enabling platform for you, and we are all serving you. And we would like to make sure that whatever we do is with the community, for the growth of the industry, by taking hyperscale innovation and translating it into all the needed parts of the modularized innovation for your success. And at the bottom here, as you can see from Dia's score, this is a really tangible score that we manage, we look at, we work with, and you can see the growth of recognized product revenue to vendor ecosystem. If I put my ex-company's hat again, to tell you that these are real numbers, that how we were able to really benefit from the value proposition of OCP. And you can see the target, how how this is moving, and we're achieving that goal of taking hyperscale innovation not only within the hyperscaler but with the extended community. Next, please. So what's happening, let's say, inside OCP, and what am I doing to really help the navigate OCP to the next level, with, of course, with the board and the foundation team. Rebecca, after me, is going to talk about OCP 2.0. If you attended the summit, you will see, what we were doing there for the next 10 years as an example, as a foundation. Of course, it's going to evolve, but she's going to talk about that. We looked at how we're going to collaborate with other, let's say, foundations out there for the benefit and the leverage for the entire ecosystem, the entire industry, and the community. And the Sonic is a very important part of this, especially growth into the data center network operating system, and also pushing from the hyperscalers into other areas like telecom and enterprises. And we thought about this, and we have a great collaboration now with Linux Foundation. And we wanted to make sure that parts of the software that is really very centric to the NOS and the growth and all the features above will be supported by the Linux Foundation, but anything into hardware centric all the way to the SI level that are really critical for making sure that if the hardware is ready, that is really retaining and remaining with OCP. These are examples of what we are trying to do in terms of hardware, software, co-design strategy. We're looking at where is the core competencies out there and how OCP can take those core competencies and co-design, work with the community at all the way to the abstraction layer of the hardware, and then work with the rest of the, let's say, open communities and foundation and you all to really build up the needed, let's say, tailored application or software, the appropriate analysis on top of what the community is trying to do. We have great examples of this, and this is where I would like to see OCP, evolve to start really, embracing software as well, but with the limits of what we can do and what we should do from a core competency and value proposition. We have many initiatives are coming, and you're going to hear it from the co-chairs today, and we're really privileged to have such esteemed colleagues in the IC community and the volunteers. Please keep it coming. We are creating more projects and programs like our webinars, and I would encourage you to participate. And also, if you would like to be part of a webinar, that we can work with you to put it together in terms of educating, quote unquote, or disseminating the right, let's say, innovative ideas out there and how to build on top of that. We're ready to make that happen with you. Tech Talks, and Archna talked about it, and this is something that it's really important between the two summits, and we're going to make sure we get engaged, and please help us there. Bill is going to talk about what we're trying to do going forward, and I'm also trying to create a technical advisory board, I call it, for the CEO, which really works with the CTO, with me, with the foundation, with you all, to be able to really put more rigor, technical rigor into OCP, and also, more importantly, to look at how we're going to be able to help, achieve your desired, areas of, software, hardware, system, solution, test, system integration, all that aspects of, and I would like to form this advisory board from various, talents of the industry, and make sure that we cover all the areas of vertically oriented, deep knowledge about the areas of technology and also areas of supply chain business. And we're looking for CTOs. We're searching. If you would like to be part of this and part of this, search and or be included into the short list of candidacy, please approach me, approach any one of the foundation team, and see how we can really work with you. And most importantly, as I take and come on board, I see tremendous leverage points that we can really work together with all other foundations, not duplicating work, not competing, but bringing OCP as the platform that we can really, as an example, create the important hardware and all the layers of, let's say, to the abstraction layer hardware ready for others to take in, other, let's say, communities, so that they don't duplicate the effort, as one example. But also trying to reach out to the standard bodies, consortium, and make sure that, everything is coming together. A lot of work here, but we cannot do this by ourselves. We need your help as well. And I'm looking and reaching out, finding the right key points with all these, foundations out there, the open communities, and also the consortium standard bodies to work with us. Next. Okay, as I take this job and then took the job and then I'm passionate about it, I'm also reaching out and talking to many of you and as I can, and also the member, management team. I'm reaching out to the IC community. I'm reaching out to companies that represent the board, and also trying to outreach a lot of other areas where there are a lot of small companies that are startups, but they have a lot that we can learn from and help from. So with that, I'm putting together by listening and hearing what needs to happen to help OCP's foundation even grow better, stronger, so that we can help you and thrive for another 10 years. These are some of the continuous improvements initiative that we're putting together, and we need your help, of course. Like example, how do we really select projects, and how do we really make sure that those projects are far-reaching as far as impact, and sub-projects, of course. And how do we onboard them easy, make it easier to work with OCP? We enhancing some of the governance of OCP. We're trying to enhance the processes, as we said. We have a lot of work to do for IT infrastructure to make sure that our communication with you and accessibility, whether it's wiki, website, or reach out, or the entire documentation process, archival process, everything else that needs to be gradually improved, we're doing it. Remember, OCP still runs as a startup, and that's the spirit, that's the passion. With a small team, like I said, 12 of us that are reaching out, 300 plus of you, and also growing. So we are gradually improving as we go, but I like to keep that startup passion and spirit, but also try to put some stability as we go. And of course, the last but not the least, we need more technical leadership, rigor, and one or two people inside OCP cannot make this happen. And with the new hire of the CTO, he or she, with the expanding the, let's say, the advisory board, the technical advisory board, reaching out to all of you, we're really ready and hit the floor and run. It's going to take time, but the success is a long journey, and the continuous improvement should be always there, and willing to listen, and as much as we can, gradually enhance and grow and excel and do all these improvements necessary. But the message here is that I'm hearing you, and we heard you. Please just reach out and let me know. And what are we here for? Call of action. We want to serve you. This is a serving foundation organization, and we're humbled to do that. We're really trying to put the platform, but we need your participation. As Archna said, please reach out. Please really help us. If we steer us, and let's talk and see what we can do as a greater collaboration, environment that we have to create. We heard you as an example. We're extending the summit, as Archna said, for 3 days, and this is really critical to have more, tracks and in a very expanded space that we can come in, and you have the time to select where you're going to go, how you're going to participate, what tracks you're going to be involved, and not rush it, and giving you more time and space and platform to do that. We need leadership, as we discussed. We have a lot of new projects coming up, and we'll welcome your ideas. Anybody would like to be on the technical advisory board, please reach out to me. We want more use cases and solutions in our marketplace. That's where the rubber hits the road, as they say, in terms of your contribution becomes, a showcase in our marketplace that can help you take the modularized aspects of it, or take the entire solution and build your solution with a tested, certified, hardware, and also what we're trying to do with community lab, OCP community lab, also bring that hardware, software test and integration to make sure that the products and solutions are ready. And of course, I'm all here for feedback. Please reach out, and you can find me. You can reach me out accordingly. My phone is open. My email is open, and I'll welcome any feedback. The good, the bad, the ugly, and together with you, we'll thrive and strive to become better. Thank you again for your partnership, membership, volunteerism, and really appreciate. And I'm very privileged to be part of this. Excuse me, part of this community, and have tremendous, successful, and supportive board. And with you all, I'm ready to hit the floor and run. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George. Really appreciate you coming on board and helping lead us. Our next speaker, you've heard from her at Summit, and we are pretty excited to have Rebecca come back and give us an update of what she has seen in the past quarter at OCP. Before she gets started, I just have a little bit of housekeeping here. All of these tech talks are being recorded, so please mute if you are not speaking. And we will have them available after the Tech Talk series completes. If you have any questions for any of our leadership, George, Rebecca, Bill, and other leaders that are going to be speaking today, please put those questions in the chat, and we will try and address them as we can. So with that, Rebecca Weekly, President and Chair of the OCP Board.
Hello, I hope you all can hear me. I'm really excited to be here with you. I think we're going to talk today mostly, as Archna mentioned, about the vision of where we're going and what we're so excited about. But I will just take a moment to embrace our position and not just our velocity towards the future, which is I am sitting here today with my biggest accomplishment of being board chairperson as hiring the wonderful and amazing George, who you just heard from. So we are so excited to have his leadership on board and to be able to see the momentum that he's starting to establish towards serving this community even better. And that is in no way a negative statement about how well the foundation has been performing. It's that the future of compute is changing. It is becoming more disaggregated. It is becoming more complex. And so his background, having worked with the OCP community to build in the open networking domain, is the kind of vision and leadership that talks to why people come here. It is all about hyperscale innovation and fostering that innovation and making it accessible to people. And there's no better advocate for it than a partner like George. So I am so excited. You probably, anybody who's worked with me or knows me knows I get excited about these things. So really looking back at our last 2 years as an industry, supply challenges certainly have been a massive issue for our industry, just dealing with remote work, dealing with a global pandemic. There's been so much that we've all had to do. And I have been overjoyed really in this last 6 months to start to see our OCP community come together again. Our 2021 Global Summit, everything that we were able to do through tech talks like this as we build towards a more hybrid life for the rest of time, probably, trying to embrace where you are, what you need from us, and also make sure that we are serving each other well as we continue to build this community. So I'm really excited about everything we've learned in this past 2 years. Really, this is about partnership, and it's about coming together and being stronger together. So just to give you a little sense of where we are for 2022, we are sitting at, and I feel bad because George showed 290 members, but he said approximately 300. And I believe the correct number right now is 294 active members here in our community, which is great growth. We have 42 marketplace solutions. We are sitting at 21 contributions. We have 11 different facilities across the world. And those facilities are about bringing communities together, allowing people to come check out OCP gear, see how it works, see if it will work for their applications, and certainly 87 active projects. And I think you saw in George's slides, we're not a big team. We're a small, scrappy, he used the term startup, and I love it. That is how we operate. That is how we think about it. We lean in together through the leadership of this community to make great things happen. And that is how we have 87 active projects going on. So this is super, super exciting times. We continue to grow how we serve through getting more efficient on our side as a foundation team and leveraging the incredible intelligence and capabilities of our community. So thank you. We are nothing without you all. And it is incredibly exciting to see that we have this momentum together. It's really important to me as well, because things are changing. I don't know how many of you are seeing lead times on your servers. I certainly am in my day job. The incredible difficulty that is happening in our supply chain and supply constrained world through global conflict, through pandemics, through everything that has happened. This is real headwinds to our industry. It's not unprecedented, but it's certainly different than anything I've seen in about 15 years. So that's a change and a challenge. We're also seeing that the core aspects of how computation has worked historically, throwing more cores into a classic von Neumann architecture, moving forward with more complicated CISC-based architectures, is not necessarily meeting the diversity of computational needs that are emerging as more and more of the world is computing in our systems. This is exciting. This is an opportunity. It's also a challenge. And it's one that as compute becomes more decentralized, as it moves towards the edge, it needs to become more specialized in order to help us address that computational complexity with the efficiency that is required. So there's been many, many studies showing this. Omdia did a research that said, research back in 2021, that discussed 47% of the community, our community in OCP, sees a massive increase in their investment in edge computing specifically. So that is a major focus of us in OCP. We also see projects that cover scale operations that help drive modularity. And modularity, we'll talk about a little bit more in this domain on the right. It's all about sustainability. When you think about modularity in design from a server perspective, it's kind of clunky. It's kind of less pretty. And for years as an industry, we've been working towards these beautiful, sleek, lovely designs. Unfortunately, they create a lot of waste, and they don't allow us to reduce, reuse, recycle, upgrade, have in-field, in-flight kinds of manageable systems. OCP, someone asked me once, what does vanity-free hardware mean? It means that. It means tearing down the ridiculousness of sleek, beautiful, anybody who'd been in a data center in the early aughts saw beautiful, handcrafted racks. I don't care if your rack is plywood, it's fine. I actually do. It's probably not a very good thermal design choice, but regardless, what we're looking for is how to reduce every aspect, reuse every aspect, so we improve manageability, security, reliability, and reduce our impact on the global ecosystem of which we are a part. Right now, we represent less than 10% of global electricity demand. But if you look at nature is calling a very, very likely potential that by 2030, this industry, the ecosystem around IT, whether data centers themselves, the networks that support them and connect them, the devices that connect to them and take computational value out of them, will be more than 30% of the world's global supply or global demand for power. That's terrifying. That's terrifying because it's not like the rest of the world is using less power and we're all getting that much more efficient. We have an insatiable demand for compute. We have an insatiable demand to continue to serve that. And if we, as the community behind that, don't get more efficient and monitor ourselves, it's not a world that I want my children to inherit. And I think all of us feel that strongly about it. So I skipped over the central section, but it wasn't for lack of desire to talk about it. It's merely, this is the trend that is so complicated, and it's a real area that we are focusing in our future technologies initiatives. And I'm sure we'll do many more sessions on it over this year. This concept that workloads have gone from being incredibly homogeneous to incredibly diverse, and that intersection between where we need to optimize both the hardware and the software collectively to drive better efficiencies for the sake of sustainability, for the sake of decentralization. All of these things work together. So increasingly, I think over the last 10 years of software development, probably 20 is a more accurate statement, people have optimized for developer efficiency. And that has been a good choice, because the most limited resource has been the talent and time of our engineers in the software development space. And increasingly, we have to look as an industry, as a hardware industry, at how do we identify the divergent situations that work better with optimized silicon and composable silicon for that use case. How can we leverage that? And how can we ultimately, as an ecosystem, as an IT ecosystem, as a consumption ecosystem, make that easier, safer, more secure, easier to adopt? That's what we mean when we talk about composable silicon. How do we have the best widgets for the problems that exist and make it easy for people to adopt it, and not this crazy long cycle of validation and this very difficult supply chain challenge to actually integrate? If we do it right, the world of chiplets will be like, oh yeah, I go to the grocery store and I grab this and okay, fries, and I grab this and I check it out and boom, I have my new custom ASIC. That's a great place to be. We're not there yet. We're not even close, but there's been massive accomplishments at OCP and in partnership with this ecosystem. UCIe is an incredible accomplishment inspired by a lot of this movement within the OCP community, and one I'm very proud of. I'm going to get the hook if I don't speed up. So I will move to the next one. When I talk about our OCP 2.0, OCP, next generation for us as a community, and what the board is looking to see from our wonderful foundation team and this community, it is actually what you have told us. You've told us you're great at helping us meet the market, identifying that lowest common denominator of thing where historically people would try and sort of innovate around it and create wonderful solutions that didn't work with one another and made our platforms harder to manage, less secure, just much, much less reliable, and fix them. Redfish partnerships with DMTF, everything that we've done towards scalable, secure solutions, that is what we have historically been great at and what we are going to continue to do. That is absolutely critical for our community. But the future requires us to work together too on much, much even more difficult problems, like what I was mentioning before. So we're going to do everything we need to do to continue to drive and meet your needs in security and reliability. And we want to seed that future of innovation. So let me jump in a little bit to kind of say what I mean. I mentioned at scale operations, security, reliability, manageability, sustainability, everything that we're doing to ensure that we are creating more reusable components across designs so that you don't have to throw away half your rack every time you do a CPU upgrade or every time there's some change within the memory ecosystem. Modularity is core to that. It really is the systems level entity underlying better sustainable design practices. Another area is our integration and our solutions. Not every team, I know this is not shocking to any of us who live it every day, not every team is 600 data center engineers who can write custom software and cool dashboards for things. Like most of us aren't. We have to be able to leverage the best of one another's core capabilities, and we need an IT ecosystem that serves us in different ways. Some companies will be able to roll their own and do it entirely themselves and take real pride in that. Some will want to use the best of open source ecosystem solutions and still have a support contract around it. And we as a community, our version of open compute is one that allows for innovation on that whole spectrum so that enterprises who don't have huge, massive coding teams for their infrastructure areas can take advantage of open solutions because they're more reliable, because they're best in class, and they also have support behind them. So we're going to continue this work. This is critical work for our business, for our community, and it's everything we have to do. But we're also going to embrace where we're going, and that's about seeding the future of innovation. When I think about seeding future innovation, there's clearly an area within optics. You know, Andy Bechtolsheim is brilliant and wonderful and amazing. There's nothing more important to him than seeing this. I think you've certainly been able to hear from him in the past. I'm sure you'll hear from him in one of our sessions, but helping define not the physical interconnect. There's many organizations that do that, but helping drive the market together towards requirements on process and technology transitions so that we have best-in-class optics available in the ecosystem in ways that people aren't making massive bets that cannot be successful. This is really about, again, the best of what OCP does. Composable silicon, I've already spoken about it a lot, so I won't say too much, but open die-to-die interfaces, the ability to establish a marketplace, not in terms of how much anybody gets paid, but literally a framework for security, for manageability at the chiplet layer, so that you can adopt interesting, innovative solutions without having to worry about how you will actually understand enough about what they're doing to not introduce a known bad actor potentially into your fleet. Applications within the domain space of AI, this would be a whole tech talk all on its own, but artificial intelligence is one of the most important transitions for us as a computational community, for lack of a better term. And we absolutely have to find the right way to establish industry standards within both the software ecosystem and the systems ecosystem so that we can scale this innovation the way that our society needs us to do it. And I come back to the sustainability aspect of that, because trying to run certain aspects of AI, like training on general purpose processors that are not built for it, will never be a great choice. We will continue to have to innovate to optimize domain specific accelerators for workloads like AI that are growing so fast. And we are beholden to do that for the sake of our society and our community and our world. If we don't do that well, we're going to be in trouble. So we got to do that work. We got to do it together. We have to make it accessible to people. And that's why it's one of these future innovation areas. So all of this comes together to say, I am so excited to be here. I am so excited to have you be a part of our community. And really, this community is a community that is only as good as you. If you show up, if you participate, if you come be part of the solution, if you bring your pain points and your ideas, that's us at our best. So I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited we have George's leadership in the foundation. And I'm so excited to be in 2020 looking at a year full of awesome innovation with all of you. Thank you so much. Can't wait to meet you all. And just like George said, call me if you need something, reach out. We're an accessible team. We want to make sure you have the best experience working with us as a community. And if not, we want to learn and grow and get better.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for taking the time and presenting to us. We are excited to have you retain your position as chair and board chair, and thank you for all the work that the board's been doing. Hopefully, over the next couple of weeks, months, you'll hear more of what the board has been doing and what some of the initiatives that George alluded to in his presentation. So thank you again. Next up, I talked about those thought leaders that we that we are so lucky to have from OCP. And those thought leaders are here with us today. The IC co-chairs are DJ Dharmesh Jani from Meta, Jessica Gullbrand from Intel, and Jeff Catlin from Celestica. Jeff is not able to attend us due to a conflict, but Jessica and DJ will take over and tell you what the IC has been up to and what new strategic initiatives we have in store for OCP in 2022. DJ?
Yep. Thank you, Archna, and welcome all of you for launch of the OCP Tech Talk. We are pretty excited to be here this morning, sharing a quick update on behalf of Incubation Committee. I'm Dharmesh, Jani, DJ, and along with Jessica and Jeff, we are the co-chairs of OCP Incubation Committee. And the goal today, what we want to accomplish is basically not only give a quick overview of what our roles and responsibilities are, because we often get asked what exactly does Incubation Committee do. So we'll review that, and then we will also go into readout of all the activities which Incubation Committee team along with the community have worked on over the last 2 years, so that everybody has a better understanding of what goes on and how to get involved. So very quickly, we all know that OCP concluded the first 10 years, and in the first 10 years, Incubation Committee was established to achieve a lot of things. When the foundation was first launched, the project was first launched, there are a lot of needs for making sure that you are developing processes, you're developing guidance, you're making sure that you have way to build a community. And Incubation Committee took a very big role in trying to develop this framework. None of this existed. Imagine you are in 2011, 2012, foundation has just started, OCP has just started. There are a lot of things which need to be done as a framework so that community can build on top of it. Those are the things which community worked on, and Incubation Committee guided them to basically develop contribution, and then even over time, bring new projects into OCP. It started with only server project, and today we have over 10 projects and more are coming in the pipeline. All of this is something which Incubation Committee worked on developing, which was amazing. However, as the time changes, as the project grows, we need to do more and we need to do different things. And that's where the role started evolving. So, in past, we were focused on voting and making sure the contributions made it through. Now we are taking a more proactive role. And the primary reason for that is, if you look around with all the membership in Incubation Committee, we have collectively actually over 100 years of IT experience with all the member experiences put together. It's an amazing group of people from many different companies with very different perspectives. And what better way to utilize them than to start looking at new problem areas, find ways for community to focus on things which are in future. If you look at OCP community, it consists of 3 main constituents. You have developers or engineers, you have big end users who consume the devices, and you have providers who build systems. We want to make sure that we do everything for each of these constituent members of the community. And for developers and engineers, I'm an engineer, all of you are engineer as well. What better way to excite them than to throw a challenge, give them a problem. That's what engineers like, and that's what OCP is starting to do. And then we also want to look at it in terms of having an impact. Just to give you an example, Rebecca talked about sustainability as a very important initiative for all the companies looking to go net zero in next 10 years. Guess what? This was launched as a strategic initiative by Incubation Committee in 2021. And today, we have a thriving group of people working to solve sustainability within the context of open compute, and Jessica is going to give an update on all the work happening there. Rebecca talked about chiplets. This was again one of the initiatives which was launched in 2018, 2019, when people were just starting to think about chiplets, not in open though. Companies were just launching, AMD had just launched their EPIC processor, which was all collection of chiplets, but it was a proprietary system. So you can see that Incubation Committee is always looking at future, looking at where the puck is going, and that's where we want to guide community for the highest impact. So today, the role has evolved substantially from last 10 years. We look at things from strategic angle, we look at things from execution angle, which is part of the past role. And we also want to hold ourselves accountable. OCP is an open source effort. The only way we can make progress is also to check on ourselves and hold ourselves accountable. And this is important aspect for everybody who is in OCP, including the incubation committee. So this aspect is reflected today, where we are coming here and we are talking about it. Again, this was something not done 3 years back, where all the OCP events, incubation committee perspective was always silent and not even represented. We have changed that, and we are going to continue to do that. So again, just to summarize, look at new problem areas for community to get directed. On the execution side, help in solution discovery by bringing more companies, bringing more people together to build perspectives, even create some kind of a soft roadmap. It's good because it brings other people into the mix, because they can see where we are going and they can say, hey, I can join you in that journey. And last but not least, we also work with OCP board to try to have way to affect their thinking wherever it makes sense. So with that, just a quick readout in terms of the execution part. In last 6-8 months, this is actually 2022 record. We have gone through 24 contributions and approvals of all different types. You can see the category based on projects. Networking is leading, and then you can see categories based on different types of contribution, and specification is one of the biggest category, no surprise. But we are also looking at white papers, which is growing. Sustainability, for instance, had a white paper. ODSA, for example, had a white paper. And then there are others. So beyond that, I also want to get us to talk about the strategic initiatives for last 2 years. And with that, I hand it off to Jessica, who is going to take us through what we have done in the last 1.5-2 years. Jessica?
Thanks, DJ. Appreciate that. So what we have done, right? So DJ talked about how the role has changed for the IC committee. And one of those things, right, that we're now doing is looking really at what future or strategic initiatives we should be driving within OCP. And we do that by this time around, right? We were taking in external perspectives through Omdia. So OCP hired Omdia to do a research analysis of where the market and where the technologies are going, in order to really identify if there are any gaps that appear that OCP should be filling in this space. Right, so we took that research analysis that was done. It was presented to all the volunteer leads within OCP, and then the project leads were taking that information and moving it basically down to their different communities in order to be able to determine, right, and getting feedback from the communities of what are challenges or problem statements that are important to all of these different communities. And then these topics were then kind of funneled up in order to get into what we then started putting together a matrix of focus areas of importance. Right, so this was coming both from external research as well as through, of course, the OCP community. And we identified then focus areas, right, of combining things together when it made sense, and basically putting it all in the table. And that table then was graded by the incubation committee in order to rank which ones of these focus areas are the most important to that particular incubation committee member, right, and their industry. So that was done, and then the top 5 projects were selected out of that. So this all happened during the year of 2020, and in the end of 2020, we basically said, okay, here we have the 5 focus areas. Let's now go ahead and start planning how we should put really the plans around all of these focus areas and how to address them. So that's what we did. And if we show here as well, this is basically the table where I said we were putting things together. We have the focus areas, we bucketed them in, rating was being done, and then the top really 5 areas were selected out of this. And the 5 areas that we selected, right, was integrated solutions. And I would talk about these in detail in the next few slides as well. Integrated solutions, sustainability and circularity. Rebecca touched on sustainability as well as DJ as well, right? It's a very important topic. Common test and validation is the 3rd one here. We have data center facility security as the 4th, and then the 5th, scale out of liquid cooling, meaning cold plates as well as immersion. So these are the 5 different areas that were selected for the 2021 strategic initiatives. So for integrated solutions, what does that mean, right? So really with integrated solutions was how can we make sure that the OCP products that are being offered on the marketplace really involves all the different great developments that are being done within OCP. So you have hardware being developed, you got software being developed, you have security features on top of that, right? And you all integrated into one product. And these are then products that are offered on the OCP marketplace. And a few of the examples for that is really the TIP collaboration. So this is the telecom infra project, where now the TIP as well as OCP are offering jointly technologies and solutions within both communities here. There's also example of integrated solutions for storage solutions as well as for Kubernetes. And if you have any more kind of want to find out more about these different solutions, I would recommend that you go to the OCP marketplace to find out more. Then for sustainability and circularity, yep, we have the data center industry is driving towards carbon neutral or even carbon negative in the next few years. So sustainability and circularity came up as a very important focus area for a large part of the community, right? And it's really about adopting sustainability goals, as well as how to develop a recognition process to drive better recycling and reuse. And with that is also including what kind of metrics should we use? If we're saying that we're going to be carbon neutral or carbon negative, what metrics should we use in order to track that to make sure that we can really reach those goals? And those are the type of challenges and opportunities that this team is working on. And if you go into the OCP webpage under projects, you can see that there is now OCP strategic initiatives. And under that, you can find more information about the sustainability and circularity. This is also within the same group there under OCP strategic initiatives. You can also find common test and validation. And this comes back to, okay, so we need test procedures and methodologies in place so we can compare one solution to the other. How can we make sure that it has been validated? And just because, you know, of basically stating that, yep, we have done validation and we've done tests, it doesn't necessarily mean the same thing from one product to the other. How can we make sure that it's tested in the same way? And for that, we need common tests and validation methods, right? And that's really what this group is focusing on. For the data center facility security, the goal here, right? So we have been focusing a lot of time on the IT equipment, of making sure that the IT equipment is secure, right? But what about the rest of the data center? Everything else that goes into the data center, how can we make sure that that's secure, that that's not being hacked and something happens to the full operation of the data center? So for example, to the power grid, for the cooling, for monitoring, for control features, you know, what do we need to do and put in place in order to make sure that we are still being secure there? And this has then led to an incubation sub-project that are called the OTS, or the Operation Technology Security, and is being driven under the Data Center Facilities Project. So you can find out more information there. The last one here last but not least, is the scale out of liquid cooling and immersion. So cold plate cooling and immersion, I bucket those into liquid cooling here. And it's really about creating a standard interface between the facility side and the IT equipment. So when dealing with liquid cooling solutions, you have a facility loop, cooling loop, and you have an IT cooling loop as well. You want to make sure that if you have an OCP solution, that you know when you're coming with your IT equipment and going to plug it into the data center facility, you want to make sure that that interface is actually going to work, right? That, yep, I got an OCP IT or OCP solution for the IT equipment. I got an OCP facility. Yep, I know that that plug is going to work and I'm going to be successful. And this is being driven then under advanced cooling facility and solutions. And this has, as Archna was talking about previously, this is one of the new projects. This is cooling environments project that just was recently introduced, right? So during last global summit, we had a cooling environments track going on there, and it led to introducing a new high-level project for this. So these are the 2021 strategic initiatives that we have been working on. So I would urge the participants here to sign up and start participating in the meetings. There are calls that you can participate and join in, and you can find more information about each of these different areas here. So for sustainability, circularity, common test and validation, again, that's you can find that information under OCP Strategic Initiatives project. So the link is on here too, that you can go and check it out for getting more details. For data center facility security, that's being the incubation sub-project that is called Operation Technology Security. You can find more information online regarding that as well. And then the scale out of liquid cooling, cold plates and immersion is, you can go to the newly founded project of cooling environments, and we have a link here too. And I just want to say one more thing here, that in order to participate, you don't really need a membership. Of course, it's always going to be encouraged, but you don't need a membership. So please feel free of come and join us and participate. And we're only getting stronger with the more participants we get. So thank you. And I will hand over to DJ, who will be talking about the next set of strategic initiatives for 2022 and 2023 that we just started with. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica, for going through all of them. Pretty exciting stuff which the community is working on. And this year, we actually went through the same process of trying to figure out what are the big problem areas which community is interested in, and the three which bubbled up. And we went through the process which Jessica described. Basically, we went through a process of collecting all the areas, getting people to vote on it, and then these three things are the ones which bubbled up to the top. So this is based on what all of you have talked about and we have heard, and this is the area where we are working on. So edge infrastructure is one of the first one. You also heard Rebecca mention about edge infrastructure. And this is basically, I'll go into detail on each of them very quickly and then we'll wrap it up. The next one is we are also looking at near package optical module. And this is an interesting area which is emerging where there is a white space and, there's an opportunity for OCP community to contribute. And then last but not least, OCP Community Lab emerged as the top area which everybody wanted to work on. So what exactly is OCP Community Lab? It's a space where we are trying to foster technology development. Why is it that everybody talked about it? It's because everybody was thinking we need a neutral space where we can collaborate on open source development. There's open system firmware as a very clear example and use case for this lab. We build systems, and if we are developing a software firmware on top of it, developers need access to these physical systems. As simple as that. So the logic is pretty simple. How are we doing this? We are already working with a set of companies who have expressed interest in contributing into the lab. HPE, Vivint, Yahoo Japan, Meta, Google, just to name few. And we are all coming together to not only bring hardware gear into an open space, which is accessible by everyone, but we are also contributing ways to support the lab. Near package optics, this is actually a pretty fast emerging area where there is a need for standardization of a mezzanine card, which is part of a near package optics module. And the reason why this all needs to be standardized is the subsystem or a module approach for next generation data center networking gear is growing, and we need to make sure that there is standardization for large volume adoption. And there are areas which nobody is looking at. When I say nobody, I'm talking about other open communities. You have co-package optics, which is being looked at in OIF, but nothing in terms of the module itself. And this is very similar to OAM module, which OCP already started working way back in 2013 for AIML. This one would be for networking. So if you are interested in it, we have a ask at the end of this deck. Please reach out to any of us and we'll be happy to get you involved. On the edge infrastructure side, again, we are looking at ways to extend existing projects into edge infrastructure, because these projects work on the data center side, on the core, and they can be also deployed on the edge. And we are looking for basically, people to get involved. Please ping Jessica again, or any of us to get involved. In fact, this is my last slide. All of you also have access to attend our incubation committee, which are public for first Thursday of every month. You just have to show up and you can share your ideas. There is no preamble required. It's an open forum. It's like a town hall kind of environment where people come and discuss, and we just take ownership of wherever we think we can lead. It's as simple as that. So with that, this is one of the slides we always end with, which is the spirit of open compute community. We are all trying to go far, and the only way we are going to succeed is if we work together on all these ideas. Thank you everyone for your effort, and thank you everyone for staying with us through these tech talks. So with that, I hand it back to Archna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, DJ, Jessica, and Jeff. I know it's a lot of hard work in terms of leading and herding cats, volunteers that have their day job, as well as come to OCP and spend an inordinate amount of time with us. So it definitely takes a lot of leaders, and I appreciate the work that all of you do for us. As George mentioned, it's the hidden hands. But there is a lot of work that goes on here. And as DJ mentioned, 2023 initiatives are being looked at now, right? So please, if you're interested in helping shape OCP and the direction that we're heading, join us on the IC calls, reach out to DJ, Jessica, or Jeff, and share your ideas and your vision. And as I stated, if there are gaps, please let Bill or myself or George or any one of us know. We're pretty interchangeable here. And as Rebecca mentioned, we're a very small foundation, so we all talk to each other. So take the time. With that, I wanted to have Bill Carter present here on the technical outlook for OCP. Now, this is looking beyond the strategic initiatives, looking at our future technologies initiatives, and looking at the technical outlook for OCP. So with that, Bill Carter.
Thank you. Hopefully you can see my slides.
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm Bill. I'm the CTO for the foundation. I've been in this role about 6 years now, and there is some changes coming, and maybe we can address that up front. And just to rest or to answer the question, am I leaving OCP? And the answer is no, but do expect a less visible role. I have a lot of honeydew things. I got a lot of things that are on my plate personally, and I just need to kind of step back and take care of those. One of which was to actually get a knee replacement, and so I got that taken care of 6 weeks ago today. And when I hang up the phone, I'm off to the surgeon to hopefully get released from that surgery. But anyway, there was two things I needed to do before I could kind of step back a little bit. One was to facilitate the hire of Rocky's replacement, and very excited to have that opportunity to hire George and have him on board, and working very closely with George and the rest of the team in that transition. Also have worked more recently on the search for a CTO replacement for this role. And we actually have had a lot of interest. We have had candidates reach out to us and indicate they're also interested. Just to let you know, we're in the, we've cast a big net, and we're just kind of gathering names of people and CVs at this point. So if you're one of the folks that reached out to us and we haven't heard back, it's because we're still in that gathering point. So we haven't begun the interview process, but expect that to start here in the next few weeks. But anyway, the net of it is that I'll still be around and still be active, and probably see at the summit, but it'll be in a less visible role. So one thing about going last today is, or close to last, is you know, a lot of the material has already been covered. So I'm gonna just hit a couple of interesting points. One of which was Future Technologies Initiative, and Archna mentioned this. You know, we launched FTS, the Future Technologies Symposium, back in 2019, so it was 3 years ago. The idea was that there are industry challenges that are very difficult to solve on our own, and very difficult to prescribe how we would go about solving those. Who are the stakeholders? What can we do as a community? You know, and really defining the problem. And so we actually, when I say we, it was the incubation committee, had defined 3 potential topics that could be addressed by folks kind of with a longer term vision, and potentially reaching out to the academic and the research communities around the globe to help with this. So we defined those. It was the idea of creating a new cloud service model where we can understand the components of the cloud, or the components of these various platforms, and understand the health of those components, and understand how we manage that, and how we get telemetry off of those platforms. The other idea was that we had we could change the way we addressed AI workloads, and rather than having a hardware platform for a workload and then software that ran on it, the idea was let's go look at this as a solution made up of both a hardware and a software component. And then the last project was looking at what we could do with software-defined memory. And so we launched 3 different work streams. We've had a lot of activity in those work streams, and they've kind of taken different, or they've kind of matured at different rates. The most difficult one has been the hardware software co-design, and we really had no idea where this would go. It turns out that when it comes to, you know, designing for AI workloads, there's a lot of proprietary and intellectual property that goes into that. And so the work of this team is really focused on what does it make sense to collaborate with. So everybody wants to go fast, as DJ says, so they're doing it on their own, but there's also opportunities to go far. And so we're trying to define where we want to go far and where it makes sense to collaborate. So that one is probably the slowest of the 3. The new cloud service model is progressing really nicely, and lots of good work that's going on there. They had a really good turnout at the summit in terms of looking at report outs and progress. But the last one is really the most important one to report on today, and that's software-defined memory. The idea behind the Future Technologies Initiative was that we could define the problem and define a solution for that problem, and put together a work stream and a set of outcomes. And the software-defined memory group has done that, and they're actually in the process of graduating to become a full-fledged project. And so they're in the midst of presenting to the to the incubation committee to actually transition from FTI to a full-fledged project. And so that's pretty exciting. We said we wanted to address these challenges that are 3 years out. This one was started 3 years ago, and here we are 3 years later, and we're graduating our first project. A couple other things I wanted to share. And again, this is kind of reflection on what's happened over the last 10 years, and a reflection on how the community has grown. You know, George mentioned that, you know, we want to, you know, support open innovation from our membership, and innovation for our membership. And historically, when I say historically, I'm going to go back, you know, 8 or 10 years, the innovation and the contribution came from a small set of hyperscalers and their ecosystem, the ODMs that supported them. If you look at our contributions today, you know, 66% of our contributions come from non-hyperscale. And this is really a great attribute or great demonstration of how we have become a much broader organization, and serving you know, a lot of different needs, involving a lot of different companies and people that are able to see ways to contribute. And so hyperscale innovation is still extremely important to us. They produce a lot of really good innovation, very complex innovation. You know, we've talked about some of that earlier today, but I also want to point out that as an organization, we rely on the overall IT ecosystem for a lot of that contribution. And this chart is just a reflection of that. Also wanted to look at and talk about all the different flavors of the contributions that we have. And again, this is kind of a reflection on changes that were made by the IC and by the foundation team a few years ago. If you recall, if you've been affiliated with OCP for a couple of years now, we started out with really two types of contributions: design specs and or product specs and design files. And we realized that not everybody is a source of a design or owns a design that they can, you know, freely contribute. And also, there's a lot of things that are important to the community other than designs, just the adoption, you know, how to embedded software. And as Jessica pointed out, you know, facilities that are practicing and implementing these kind of best practices for energy efficiency and operational efficiency. And so we expanded the types of contributions that were allowable and that we wanted to give credit to. And so I went back and looked at those contributions from 2019 to today, and you'll see that roughly 30% are kind of non-design file, non-product spec contributions. And so that's, again, it's a reflection on changes that we made, and just a reflection on the types of opportunities that exist for our larger community. And also talking about things that we changed a few years back. And this is a look at the product spec contributions. So, you know, products are important. It creates an opportunity to influence the industry by producing a spec, making it available. Somebody can go off and buy it and take advantage of that technology and innovation that's in that product. And a spec alone is a great contribution, but unless you can actually get your hands on it and scale it, you know, it's hard to argue that it was necessarily impactful. And so as an IC, we made a decision a few years back that we wanted to make sure that these specs that were being contributed actually went into production. And so I've gone back and looked at the specs that were contributed in 2019 through today and said we had 72 specs that were contributed. Out of those, 70 of those have actually gone to production. And by definition of that is that there's at least one company that's buying it and using it. And so where's the other two? Well, it's probably the last two contributions that really haven't gone to production yet, but they're very likely to. And that was important. And by the way, I credit the incubation committee for a lot of this work, because it was one of the requirements that they put in place, is that, hey, we love to have product specs, we love these ideas, but let's make sure that there's actually a supplier set up, that supplier is going to build the product, and that product's going to become available. And so that middle bar is that production, that it's a real product, it's being produced, someone is buying it and deploying it. But in order to really affect the industry, we want to make sure that that product is not just available to one customer, but it's available to 2 or 3 or anyone. And I classify that as general availability. So in other words, there's 2 or more people that are able to buy that. And this is where we're seeing a little bit of a fall off. Ideally, we'd like to see, if 70 go to production, that there's 70 or close to 70 that achieve that general availability, because it means that it's more impactful to us. So we have a lot of opportunity to influence when we contribute a spec, but the real measure of that, how well that we're able to influence the impact of that, is whether or not we achieve that general availability. So we made some changes to the contribution process to assure we're production. We just need to make some more changes and think about that as an organization. How do we get that product to the point where it's available to everybody? We talk about changes and refinements that we want to make as an organization. George had several of those that he listed. Here's another opportunity to us to do that. And again, the idea is we all want the opportunity to influence the industry. Let's figure out what we need to do to assure that happens. Okay. And that was it. So I just had a couple of quick slides I wanted to cover, and hopefully everything else was covered earlier. And that's all I had. I'll turn it back to you, Archna.
Thanks, Bill. It's actually really interesting to see how, between what the IC does, between what the projects do, between what the contributors and the ecosystem do. And, there's a huge amount of work that gets done from a contributor contributing a spec and a vendor making that product, and then having that product be available for consumption, for public consumption. And that is one of the goals for OCP. And Rebecca mentioned it, you mentioned it, George mentioned it. It's something that we echo. And that is something that Steve Helvie lives and breathes every day. He's our VP of Channel, and his job is to make sure that the contributions that the contributors are making actually get translated into a product, and that product is then visible on our marketplace. Or if a facility, we have 11 facilities around the world that are utilizing OCP solutions, that those facilities are now able to broadcast this ability to the rest of the world. So with that, Steve is going to give us a marketplace update and talk about our solution provider program. Steve,
Wonderful.
You're up.
Yeah, thank you, Archna. Thank you, everyone, for hanging in there. I'll spend just a couple minutes. Rebecca talked about meeting the market. So one of the ways that we meet the market is through our reseller program, or our certified OCP solution provider program. I will hit on just a couple of these areas here. I know that George mentioned this number earlier on. I wanted to reiterate it. The market is quite large here over the next couple years. I did include a link here. If you haven't had a chance to watch the Omdia presentation from last year's summit, I encourage it. They do a great job of articulating where this 46 billion is going to be coming from, the regions and the verticals. Where we are seeing the traction within open compute. This is again from the Omdia study and presentation. The top 3 verticals are not going to be a surprise to anyone. These are the communication SPs, the tier 2, and the hyperscale. I do want to talk just a second about the financial services, the retail, and other enterprise. What we're seeing now is more of a move toward our edge servers being looked at and adopted, and a lot of interest in these edge form factors, not so much the traditional data center SKUs, but all of the edge work that's coming through OCP with the WeWin, the new Mytek sled, and of course the Nokia sled. These are being more viewed by some of these downstream or say tier 2 or tier 3 markets. So I would anticipate a lot of growth in these areas compared to say the core data centers. I was encouraged to see some financial institutions start to look at migrating off of public cloud and finding ways to use OCP internally. And then of course, on the retail side, you know what Target is up to on ours, on their journey through OCP. Again, from the Omdia, I thought it would be interesting to see why people are looking at open compute. All of these are interesting. They're all within a few points of each other. I did find it somewhat interesting that the CapEx reduction is halfway down the list. It's usually in the top 2 or 3. Energy reduction, efficiency, OpEx, and then of course, open source hardware. So these are all really good indicators and directional indicators of where we're headed with OCP and why people are adopting open hardware design. So this is positive for us across these different attributes and buying behaviors. Moving to the SP program itself, there are 2 goals that I shared with a couple of years ago. This is about driving adoption of OCP solutions throughout the different market segments and regions, and develop and enable profitable partners. So we want the contributions that are coming through to be picked up by these resellers, and we want them to be very profitable selling this to the market. The things that we're doing here on this evolution of the partner program has gone through a lot of iterations since I've been part of OCP. I'll highlight from 2016 to 2017 is when we launched the marketplace and we announced OCP accepted and OCP inspired recognition. Then moving on toward 2019, 2020, we introduced the circular economy offerings. We had the launch of the OCP ready facilities certification and integrated solutions that were listed on the marketplace. And where we are today, 32 solution providers, 11 facilities, as Archna mentioned, still well over 150 products and solutions on the market. And what's even more encouraging is the types of broadening that we're seeing with immersion solutions coming on board, optics, cards, SSDs. So we're going to see more of these interesting type of SPs and non-traditional SPs joining the program, I think, in the future. The logo slide here that I have just gives you a sense of the 32 SPs. So I'm calling out just a couple here. We have the component guys like Intel and Samsung that have recently joined. I'll get to the OCP ready facility vendors here in just a minute, but we have the optics folks like Innolight joining, and the accessories, so the cable, the active electrical cables from Credo. These are the type of folks that may not have a product that can be OCP accepted or inspired, but we're still finding a way for them to be included in the marketplace and be able to showcase their enabling technologies, such as the cabling to the ecosystem. So that's what we're focused on, is not just the OCP accepted and inspired hardware on there, but to expand it to those enabling technologies as well. All right, the marketplace itself, we're still close to around 8,000 views per month through Q1, split pretty evenly across the regions. A lot of that activity in APAC is in North Asia, and EMEA is Central Europe primarily. So not so much in the Middle East, in Africa yet. The top 10 countries still continues to be 30% US, the Taiwan and China markets coming in the second. And then I do like the coverage that we're seeing in Europe with UK, France, Germany. I am a bit, I'm going to keep an eye on India. So we've not really done anything in that market, and I continually see them bump up. Sometimes, some months they're in the top 5, other months they're down around number 10, but I would anticipate over the next 12 to 18 months, a lot more happening in that region. So let's see if they can move up in this overall ranking. And Japan is consistently very, very strong. All right, the 6 most viewed products A lot of people do top 5, top 10. I picked a 6 for a random number. Here we go. We win 3 nodes from WeWin, Tioga Pass, the new ARM server that they have, and their Yosemite v3, which is the new Meta contribution as well. A perennial and consistent contender is Nokia's offerings. Almost everything Nokia does gets a lot of views. Their OpenEdge chassis is still one of the top products viewed on our marketplace. The Run BMC management board, very, very high in the number of views that they receive on a consistent basis. And still the #1 product viewed in Q1, OpenRack. So all the fancy stuff, but it still boils down to the rack, which I find fascinating and interesting. All right, the most viewed integrated solutions. We have a lot of networking solutions on the integrated solutions piece. This is a 5G open networking diagram and reference architecture that we've put together with a few of the vendors that includes disaggregated cell sites, edge server, as well as core routers from say UfiSpace, EdgeCore, Mytek, and WeWin. That gets a fair number of views. Nokia's outdoor cabinet gets an enormous number of views that fits, I believe, 3 of their OpenEdge servers in that. And as far as the full rack integrated solutions, it is Circle B's OpenShift and Red Hat offering that comes in a 3-rack configuration and is pretty well received in the market relative to views. All right, another stat from Omdia: 7 in 10 data centers or enterprises plan to increase their data center investment. That is not surprising. In fact, it seems low. But here's where they're going to be investing based on Omdia's numbers: more efficient equipment, renewable energy, non-recyclable components, renewed equipment, and liquid cooling. All these stats are interesting as far as the liquid cooling, I think, is probably going to increase if you were to ask that question today versus 6 months ago. But this plays well into our OCP Ready facility program. And I wanted to take a minute just to highlight this. It is now 25% of the solution provider program. We have 11 facilities just in the 2 years since we've launched it. Our European coverage is fantastic. We have 2 facilities listed in Norway, 1 in Denmark, all from Bulk Infrastructure, who have really increased their commitment to OCP. We continue to have Hydro 66 out of Sweden and Main Cubes in the Netherlands, Rackspace and KO out of the UK. KO has done some amazing things with not only OCP, but also their NVIDIA certifications. Our new US facility, Nautilus Data Centers, you may have seen profiled at the OCP Summit. Cheora continues to be great advocates in China, and we have our new facility in Singapore, Princeton Digital Group, and Indonesia, covered by Space DC. So I'm happy with that. Our pipeline is really strong for these facilities to come through the certification program, and it is really a credit to our colleague Mark Dancy and the entire DCF group for putting together these guidelines and help ushering these companies through. And I anticipate this group growing even more as the DCF group, the Data Center Facilities Project, put together guidelines for modular data centers, and then all of the work that the ACS group is doing on the immersion side of things will be incorporated. It's just this entire area is going to be a big, big deal for us in the future. All right. I see Joshua Al posted a chat question around what is the difference between, say, the community lab that DJ mentioned and some of the experience centers. So first of all, Joshua, you need to get some sleep. It is probably 1 in the morning in Singapore and you are up watching me talk. So you're great. Joshua is a fantastic advocate in Singapore. But the primary difference here, as Jessica alluded to in the chat, is that the community lab is going to be doing a lot more testing and validation. These OCP experience centers are for solution provider led and OCP ready facility led, where people can come try the gear and host POCs. So these are really partner led or OCP solution provider led experience centers. We have a new one in Singapore. I've included the link here to the launch video. All of these great members supporting it: Samsung, Princeton Digital Group, EdgeCore, Mytek, WeWin, Ritzel, Murata, really, really great advocates, really helping to kickstart Singapore and doing some heroic efforts in that area. The one on the right, Vesper Technologies and KO with SIVO. These are 3 members. Fantastic story about the way SIVO is deploying their Kubernetes engine at an OCP ready facility with Vesper's help. And just a fantastic video as well, showing the entire layout. Netherlands, this is our first experience center, which was Main Cubes and Circle B. And on the right, Celeris, championing the efforts out of France with their lab as well. So great chance to see the gear, do POCs throughout Europe and other locations, including APAC. Lastly, we've been telling some stories. So one of the things that we try to do with our solution providers, not only tell their stories through, say, these SP spotlights, but also their customer's story. So we've been doing a series called Running on OCP. That's available on our YouTube channel. These stories are fantastic and give you a sample of how regular enterprise customers are approaching and taking these hyperscale innovations and using either components or the full rack integrations at their facility and to drive their business. All right, what's next? We have a new version of the marketplace coming. As you saw on my earlier slide, it's been around since 2016, 2017 without a lot of changes. We're going to revamp that, and that'll be coming up here in the next quarter. We're going to continue broadening the ecosystem. And I encourage you, become an OCP certified member, solution provider, market your solutions, visit the marketplace. If you're a data center facility operator, become part of the OCP Ready certification program. We're doing a lot of fun things around that, and share your stories. Any questions, reach out to me. And that is it. Archna?
Well, you have all of our emails, so there's no excuse for you to come back and talk to us and share your ideas. Give us feedback on this Tech Talk, this very first opening foundation overview. And as you start to look at other Tech Talks, please take a look at our website. All the Tech Talks are available here under the events page, under Tech Talk series. And the next one is Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, starting with our server project. They have lots of really, really good, interesting content. You have to register, and then you will get the YouTube link. I'm sorry, the Zoom link. Want to reach out and say a shout out to our sponsors. Google, Meta, Intel are sponsoring the server Tech Talk. So thank you so much to our sponsors. I wanted to also do a shout out to those invisible hands, Kaylee Burdett, Kate Hendel, and Michael Schill, who have been managing the Zoom the platform for us behind the scenes, as well as helping us with all of the organization of the Tech Talks. I can't imagine the amount of work, and it's a tremendous amount of just coordination. So thank you to Kaylee, Kate, and Michael. And then the last shout out is to our volunteer leaders, folks like, DJ, Jessica, and Jeff today, as well as those that are, leading our project workshops, those that are working with the Workstreams, the special projects, the sub projects. We would not be here without you. And last but not least, thank you to our community for taking the time to listen. Again, these are half-day virtual workshops. If you missed any of them or can't make it, they will be available on our YouTube channel, along with the slide decks for you to listen to later. And please share with your colleagues, share with your community, share with your network. We are open, we are OCP, and that means you are OCP. So please join us next Tuesday. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your afternoon, or wherever in the world you might be. Joshua, get some sleep, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.